Good morning, everybody. I want to talk about something a little different in this video. I want to talk about why I decided to keep my plumbing company small as opposed to going the other direction, which is growing a very large company with a lot of vehicles, overhead employees, etc. So generally, there are two ways you can take it. You can stay small, or you can grow big. Staying small, for me, was the clear best choice for a variety of reasons. I think the biggest one is, in order to grow, you have to have a growth mindset. You have to drive for revenue. You have to systematize your business, right? So you need to have KPIs. You need to make sure that every employee is performing at maximum productivity. You need to watch that profit and loss statement like a hawk, because if you have one bad month, it can wipe out months of good progress. Because you have such a large overhead when you have a large company that the downsides are very great. The upside is great, the downsides are great. When you have a large company, every truck brings with it additional overhead, right? So every truck has insurance. You've got an employee in that truck, and employees aren't cheap. A good plumber's gonna make, in my area, really between 60 to 100 grand a year is kind of like the starting. And good plumbers can obviously make more than that. If you're on commission, some companies pay their plumbers commission. I don't, but that's a topic for another day. Commission plumbers in my area can easily make over 100 grand, for sure. And so every truck has this overhead that usually amounts to about, let's call it 100 grand a year. But there's also the secondary and the tertiary costs that come associated with that truck, right? So your insurance, unfortunately, insurance companies are parasites. And what they do is they take a percentage of your business based on your payroll. So if you have a truck that has, 150 grand in overhead a year, which is a realistic number, and you have a bad year where revenue doesn't grow, let's say payroll stays the same, or actually payroll goes up slightly because you've given raises, your insurance will be higher than last year, even if you have no claims, because your payroll went up. In my mind, this is kind of ridiculous. In fact, in a lot of ways, I think it should be the opposite. It's the lower paid guys that tend to make the most mistakes, okay? If you have a helper working on a truck with only 2 years of experience and he's only making 40 grand, he's way more likely to cause a flood or fuck something up on a job, pardon my language, mess something up on a job and cause you to have an insurance claim than, say, a master plumber with 10, 20, 30 years of experience. Way more likely to cause a mistake. But the master plumber costs more. So why does me having a master plumber working for me cost me more on insurance than having a helper? Make it make sense. It's so stupid. And so these insurance companies are parasites, and they want to get more money for every dollar in payroll, which I think is completely ridiculous. So you've got more overhead, more headaches. You have to systematize, because when you have more overhead, every employee has to drive revenue. If they're not driving revenue with a larger business, if they're not driving revenue, you have to let them go. Even if they're a good employee. Let's say they have good talents, like they're a really good installer, but they don't know how to sell. In a larger business, they may not be as valuable, let's say. They're more disposable. But with a small company, you have a certain amount of freedom. So I'm just going to talk about my example. I've got 4 full-time plumbers that work for me, plus myself. So 5 plumbers on payroll. And then I have a couple of part-time office staff, which that's a topic for another day, but I think part-time office staff are actually way more effective than having a full-time office staff. It's a little bit more difficult to source them, but there's just not enough office work at a company of my size to justify having a full-time office person. There's just not. There's a lot of time sitting around waiting for stuff to happen. But anyways, back to the main topic. So in a small company like mine, I have a lot of freedom to run things the way I want to run things. So last year was kind of a bad year for us. And we were still able to make a profit. I still got paid. My guys still got paid. And I was able to put some money aside in profit. Wasn't a great year. Thank you, Bidenomics. If I had a large overhead, I think it's way more likely that I would have lost money instead of made money. But because we're small and nimble, we can duck and bob and weave and adjust to the market conditions that we're in. In addition, I don't feel this pressure to drive revenue all the time. What I've noticed is at this sweet spot, we're basically a 3-truck company. Okay, so I've got 1 master plumber and his son, so that's a 2-man truck. I've got another master plumber and a journeyman named Brandon. That's the 2nd truck, and then I have myself. I run my own truck, and I basically I run sales and marketing at this point. And I'll come and help the guys as they need me. But what I've found is by setting it up this way, we are always busy. I am never stressed about finding work. I actually have more work than I can handle. And so by having more leads than I can handle, I get to pick and choose who I work with. I also get to price my services relatively high for my market. There are obviously companies that charge more than what we charge, but there's a lot of companies that charge way less than what we charge. And so by staying this smaller size company, number one, when things do get slow and I don't have as much work, I can adjust my pricing and lower it and get more work quickly and easily and still make a profit. That's great. But number two, when we're busy, by not adding those units of overhead in the form of additional plumbers and additional trucks, we just work maybe some longer hours and some harder weeks, and we make more money, and we can set that money aside. I think for me, this is the best way forward. I mean, it's very easy to find enough work to keep my guys busy, to pay them well, for myself to be paid well. And it's honestly a very low stress environment. I've got young children. I spend a lot of time with my wife and my children because they're young, and I enjoy that. I am a Orthodox Christian, so we spend a lot of time with our friends, our church family, and every weekend we go and worship, and that's very important to us, and we try to live that lifestyle. And in general, I truly feel that money is not everything. I make more than enough to live a happy life. I'm not stressed. My people are taken care of. The people I love that depend on me are taken care of. And my employees are always taken care of. And so there are weeks when we work 50 hours or more, and there are weeks where we work 30 hours, but everybody still gets paid, and everybody still gets taken care of. And I don't cut hours on my guys when we're slow. I think that's, pardon my French, I think if you're an employer and you're doing that to your employees, it's kind of bullshit. If you need to let someone go because things are really bad, and I've done that before, right? I'm not a saint. Then you need to do that, and I understand that, and I respect that. But if your guys worked for 4 days that week, you should be able to generate enough revenue to pay for their payroll and your costs, and give them an easy day at the shop on Friday if need be, or whatever. Work on the vans, right? Change the brakes, change the oil, etc. So this was a bit of a rant, but for me, the big bullet points are, if you decide to go into business for yourself, at some point you have to make a decision. Am I going to grow by adding employees and trucks and overhead, or can I just raise my prices and build out a book of business and make a really good profit with very little stress and as minimal overhead as possible? And I chose to go that second route. It works for me. I'm not very stressed. I pretty much have a cushy sales job. And when I want to, I go out in the field and I work. And if I don't, well, I don't. Now, it took me years to build that, right? It didn't happen overnight. In fact, the first couple of years that I was in business, I worked my butt off every single day, 6 or 7 days a week. Now, part of that was misplaced effort and misplaced energy. When you first start out, you're kind of throwing mud at the wall. You don't understand what you actually need to do to grow the business. But truthfully, what it comes down to is you need to build a brand. That brand needs to be centered around your quality of work. You need to network, and you need to get results for your clients. At this point in our business, we've been in business 6 years. We're in our 7th year of business, and we get client referrals every day. We've helped thousands of clients, and we've gotten wonderful results. And I think we've got over 400, maybe 500 5-star reviews on Google and social media, Facebook, and House Call Pro, and all the websites now, well over 500. And I think in the last 5 or 6 years, I've only gotten 1 or 2, maybe 3 1-star reviews, unsatisfied customers. I get results from my clients. I take care of them. We do super high quality work. I pay my employees well. We take care of our clients. And, I have a philosophy. If I do a big job for a client and they call me up for something, even if it's not a warranty, 9 times out of 10, we just do that secondary service for free. Because I want their repeat business. It's not always about money. Yes, you need to charge. You need to make money in your business. And I do pretty well for myself. But we don't worship money. Money is a tool to help the business and to help the people in the business. It is a people business. So focus on taking care of your clients, doing super high quality work, be professional, wear a collared shirt, have a uniform, show up smelling nice, keep your truck organized, be professional, be polite. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, sir. No, ma'am. And be a likable person, and you will have more work than you can possibly dream of. That's all I've got to say. I hope that was helpful.